You're listening to the Tumbling Saber Podcast, a member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Network. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to episode 42 of the Tumbling Saber Podcast. Thanks again for tuning into us and making us a part of your day. And there's so much Star Wars stuff to talk about this week, so we're going to jump right into the news. No small talk. First, got to introduce the crew. Corey, what's going on, man?
What is going on, my brother?
Same old, same old. We've been talking for 10 minutes off air, so you know exactly what's going on. This is just, this is what you do. Formalities. James, how you doing?
Doing fantastic, Kyle. Nice to talk to you boys on a Sunday night.
Yes, another nice weekend in the books. We're gonna wrap it up with a couple hours of Star Wars talk here. But first, we're gonna have to read out an iTunes review that we got. Holy good lord, we actually have an iTunes review.
Woo!
From T. No kidding. It's Corey, crack a beer, Corey.
Hang on, give me a sec here.
Boy, there we go. It's time to celebrate. This latest iTunes review by T. Butters. I don't know who T. Butters is, but he says that we're easy to listen to. I enjoy hearing about all the rumors for the upcoming films. Keep it up, Saber, all caps. And that's a 5-star review, man. That's as good as gold.
Yeah,
so thank you, T. Butters.
Yeah, I love reviews.
Honestly, loving the
it's,
love.
It's always nice to know.
Oh, sweetness. All right, now we're going to, with that, we will skip. We got a little rant to do on behalf of all Star Wars fans in the UK, and specifically our friends out there. We found out, I guess it was today, that they're only going to get the Season 3 premiere of Rebels on October 1st. They're going to be a full week behind us. And I don't know about you guys, but I feel like that is a load of absolute garbage. I feel like that in 2016... in the hyper-connected world that we live in, to stagger release dates like that, and take loyal fans, who you just had Celebration there. You thought these fans were good enough to throw Star Wars Celebration there, and now you're going to put them a week behind on Rebels right off the hop. And I'm not going to pretend to know all the ins and outs of TV programming and contracts and rights and blah, 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 but I feel like this is disgraceful. So, James, what do you think? Should we just not bother with this and assume that this is big business doing what it does and it's unfortunate, but we just have to live with it? Or do the fat cats over at Disney XD need to get their act together and get everybody on the same page?
No, I'm going to go and flap my big ignorant lips and say in 2016, this seems ridiculous. Somebody somewhere, an executive who knows why this happened and has very good reasons for doing this, who isn't listening to our podcast, but should, would probably be shaking his head going, you dumb layman who doesn't understand exactly distribution rights and legalities. This is exactly why. But until I hear that reason, it doesn't make any sense to me why you need a whole week delay. Not a 6-hour delay, not time zones, but 7 days. Doesn't make sense.
Corey, do you have a take?
I really do. Like, honestly, I feel really bad for our fellow Commonwealth members. We blew it up today with our fellow Twitterati in the sense that they weren't happy, and I totally feel for them. Like, what is this? Like, Star Wars has like one interconnected fan base. Like, we do things like podcasting, and there's a thing called the internet. Like, spoiler alert. I don't understand how they couldn't get together on this one and realize that just for the sake of the fans, like, just doesn't make any sense to me. Like,
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I mean that's our perspective, right? Where we don't care about the business, the driving decisions that make business go. We don't care about that. We just want the product. We want it to be good, and we want everybody to be happy. So I'm trying to think of why this could happen.
I did too for the better part of the day, and I could not come up with anything. Like,
does this happen?
No.
Is this the first time? There must be other shows where, I mean, I don't know of any, but there must be other shows where like Australia was getting it a week late, or we were getting it.
I think Rebels was. I think the UK was getting Rebels a week before us previously. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean, I think this kind of thing happens more commonly than we would care to recognize. But I think in this particular instance, with Rebels picking up steam, with it being such a popular show now, that there can't be a good reason for this. And the only thing I could come up with is that it wouldn't shock me if somewhere it said that the US market / North American market gets it first, which I guess on some level is kind of understandable. So I thought that if it's something that's going to air at 9:00 on what is it, Saturday night?
No,
coming
Saturday.
Up for us?
Saturday. We get it at 8:30 Saturday night. They're getting it 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning, which is another.
Well, and that's what I mean. That's what I'm going. So if they were going to air it simultaneously, right, which is the ideal for everybody, we're going to get it at 8:30, 9:00. For the people in Europe and UK specifically, it would air at like 2:00 in the morning,
or vice versa. Let them have it at 8:30, and it would air at like 2 something at our time. But I don't think we'd have so much spoilerific news in a 6-hour time span or a 5-hour time difference as opposed to like a 7-day. Like I wouldn't care if they got it at 8:30 p.m. on a Saturday evening. To me, it'd be great. Like they'd say, "Hey guys, great show. Talk to you about it in the morning."
Right, but I think that's when we start getting into the business part of it, because Disney XD probably considers that their prime time show. They're probably their biggest prime time show. I don't know that to be a fact, but it's probably something that pulls in massive ratings for them across a wide spectrum of viewers. And here's a bunch of 30, 40-year-olds watching Rebels. When else would you watch Disney XD? Probably never. So I got to imagine that first they're going to put it on prime time for North America. I think that's easily enough understandable, and that unfortunately that wouldn't work for the UK at the same time. So what then? Push it off a week? That seems a bit extreme. So how can you fix this? I mean, so I don't know. Like James said, here we are spouting off our big ignorant mouths, but somebody at Disney XD in the UK has got to fix this. It's not cool. It's not cool to make all those fans either spoil themselves through exposure on the internet, or isolate themselves. It's just not cool. And then I don't want to dwell on this too much, but we need some kind of hashtag. There needs to be some kind of Twitter hashtag to bully Disney XD UK to get their act together.
No, I agree. We definitely need to call attention to it, because the next time around it could be us. It could be vice versa. They have all kinds of works in the project, and this is a problem. So I think as fans, we should call attention to it.
Yeah, well, I checked Disney XD UK's Twitter mentions, and aside from us, nobody was really squawking about it. So maybe, I don't know, are we the only people that are upset about it?
Maybe it hasn't caught. Maybe they just dropped the news now, and people haven't really caught on yet.
Well, and that's what you do, right? when you have negative news, you let it slip on the weekend when no one's paying attention. I imagine at some point this will catch up to Disney XD UK, and they'll say, "Well, it's too late. You're gonna have to just live with it." But anyway, if someone wants, maybe we'll come up with a hashtag and we can start bullying them. They have 5 days. I don't know how quickly these kind of things can be halted and fixed, but we're giving Disney XD UK 5 days to fix this for all their Star Wars friends.
I got one for you, Kyle. Hashtag till all are one. You know where that's coming from?
You can't co-opt that from Transformers.
You got me.
You can't do that. Okay, so rant over. I think I got that off my chest. We all got that off our chest. I think a little bit. I feel a bit better, and I hope to God it gets fixed.
And to be fair, better them than us.
Shots fired. Although, like Corey said before, that was us. I think in season 1, we were behind. Like I remember having to go and find the torrent of each episode because I just couldn't get my hands on it. I didn't want to wait a week. Anyway, so I think, I don't know if wiser minds will prevail here, but fingers crossed. Let's hope for the best. And let's talk about this Death Star DLC for Battlefront. Did you guys check out the video for that?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Man, I'm trying to protect myself from buying video games. Like I've mentioned on the show before, I haven't played in a long, long time. It's coming up on 4 years since I've really played a video game on my PS3. But boy, that Death Star DLC, downloadable content, man, that looks amazing. What did you guys think of that footage?
Yeah, it was ridiculous. Like, I'm on the same page as you. The only thing I've used my PS4 for was, or my PS3, excuse me, has been hockey. But I've always had an affinity. Second to hockey has always been fighter pilot stuff, and it just looks totally ridiculous. So sick. The only problem I really have with video games that it makes it hard to play is just timing wise. Like a game like this, you're not going to sit down and play 15-20 minutes like you can hockey. You just play one game, good night, you're done. You need to dedicate at least an hour if you want to actually have a bit of fun in a game like that, which is hard to come by.
No, I tend to agree. There are times when you just want to hunker down for like an afternoon and play a video game, and I think Battlefront is perfect for that. Although I haven't played it, like I'm like me, I've never been a fan of online playing or multiplayer type games. So it's easy enough for me to just look at this video and admire it, but I'm not tempted to plunk down whatever it is, $500 for a PS4 and another X amount for the game. I'm not tempted yet. But the minute that they start releasing trailers for actual story mode games with dogfights and that, or it looks just like Battlefront but has a story mode to it, I'm a goner. It's over. I'm gonna lose my family. I'm gonna lose my money. Might lose my house in the process because I may not go to work. I'll be like a relapsed addict again. I know, James, you've been off the video game bandwagon for quite a while too. You're still with your PS2.
Correct.
But this had to also be like, wow, what am I missing?
Oh man, yes. Just to look at it, it just looks stunning. And there's a couple of scenes that I want to just watch over and over again. That when they dive in with the X-wings into the trench, some of that footage in the game is just it looks better than anything I've ever seen in any montage, in any interstage, it's the best looking Star Wars game action I've ever seen, I think.
Yeah, it looks so good. I mean, it's almost getting to like film quality.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely the stuff that wasn't the gameplay, but the montage stuff was film quality. But even the gameplay stuff really looks outstanding.
And they've also put in the music and the sound effects. Everything just feels like bang on, and it looks like it just immerses you so fully into the galaxy far, far away. It's amazing, and it's to think where gaming will be in just a few short years from now. Never mind 10 or 15 years. It's scary, man. I don't know what's coming, but I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, VR. Imagine that in VR.
Yeah, absolutely.
But
VR.
I think
that's what's next.
Touching back on something you just said, Battlefront. You said I think it's all like interactive online stuff, right? From what I know, anyhow. There's no story mode, right?
Yeah, right. So everything is sort of like an online campaign. You have to join up with other people. That's the way I understand it, anyway.
Yeah, that's still fun.
Maybe
too.
Rob. I think Rob over at Talk Star Wars can clarify for us if we're talking out of our asses again. But that's the way I interpret it. How this all plays out.
But in regards to you wanting to play a game where there's like story based, where it's single player kind of, I think at that point after they release a game like that, it's going to be considered canon, right? So I think they'll probably take their time with that.
True. Yeah, even video games are canon now, which is kind of stunning to think about. Although this Battlefront game is not, or at least this Death Star DLC level is not, obviously. But future video games will be, or can be, I guess, is maybe the more nuanced answer. They can be if they choose. Yeah, I think it's inevitable that at some point I'll be $500 poorer. And then you guys can all come over and play and help me feel better about myself.
Hey.
Just bring the beer and pizza. Moving on quickly here, we'll talk about Star Wars Rebel music now available for download. So if you're a fan of the Star Wars Rebel soundtracks, as I am, season 1 now is out there. I was playing around with it on Spotify earlier today. It's, I think 28 songs or so. Sounds spectacular, guys. I don't know how much interest you guys have in this, but for my money, more Star Wars music, the better. And Kevin Kiner's work on Rebels has been fantastic. He's even taken a big step up for me anyway, from Clone Wars. So there's more cut. I think the first cut came out on Friday, and there's more coming on September 30th, if I'm not mistaken.
I think season 2 is on September 30th.
Yeah, that's a lot of new Star Wars music out there to be chewed through. So I've got my Spotify Premium account, and I'm just gonna plug that in at work at some point when I get through my podcast and let it rip. How about you, Corey?
Yeah, I'm totally like I wanted to talk to you more about it because I know you're such like you're obsessed with the music of Star Wars, which don't get me wrong, I love it too. And yeah, you nailed it. Like Kevin Kiner's work is so beautiful in this series. Like 2 episodes I have to mention in particular are both in season 2. But Journey into the Star Cluster from the episode Legends of the Lasat is like some of the most beautiful work I've seen like ever. Just visually,
well, yeah, that
stunning.
Was the visual of the Star Cluster in that episode was amazing. But it was in the aftermath of that episode, everybody was talking about the music during that sequence.
Oh yeah, it sucked you right in. It just the cello or the violin, whatever it was, it freezes you in your seat, and you're just totally into it.
Yeah, no, it was spectacular. I've never seen the music really as a focal point of discussion after one of these episodes. So that's a real feather in Kevin Kiner's cap, and I think this is his comfort zone. You know, we talk often about, you know, who's the heir apparent to John Williams, and some people suggest Kevin Kiner, and that's a fair suggestion. But I feel like he's probably, I don't want to speak for the guy. Obviously, I've never met him, but I feel like this is sort of where he shines. And maybe he would do better work if he was given the platform for it. But the work he's been doing with Rebels has just been so good. And it's funny because I was listening to some of it today, specifically Ezra's theme. And it's funny to me that not more people draw like these straight line conclusions. Like, for example, Ezra's theme is like Obi-Wan Kenobi's theme is all over that. And I'm surprised that more people haven't suggested some type of parentage or connection between the two characters. But I think that's sort of a hallmark of Kevin Kiner's music, that he uses themes from throughout the 7 movies or 6 movies and weaves them into his show. Not at random, but always representative of certain things. So again, season 1, September 16th, that was last Friday, and season 2, September 30th, if it so interests you.
And
anything else anybody wants to say?
Just if anyone listening can get out there, listen to that song, Journey into the Star Cluster, and It's Over Now, the closing song to Twilight of the Apprentice. Every time I get goosebumps, so worth the listen.
Yeah, fantastic. Another good one dating back to Clone Wars is, I think it's simply called Ahsoka Leaves. The song where she just leaves the Jedi Order. It's this horribly sad rendition of the Force theme. Heartbreaking as Ahsoka leaves the Jedi Temple. And it's just more proof that Kevin Kiner is real deep in this, and he's doing just tremendous work. James, anything you want to add to this?
I don't really have a lot to add. I'm sort of out of the loop, and while I do love the Star Wars music, I can't really comment on stuff I haven't heard much of.
Yeah, well, in a way, you have heard it. Like he takes a lot of what already exists and puts his own spin to it. So most of it would sound very familiar to you, just in a different pitch or tone at some points. And then some stuff, of course, is original, but it all feels very familiar. Anyway, if you have a free Spotify account and you need some background music one day, that's ideal listening in my mind.
Cool.
If you needed advice on what to listen to, James.
Spotify, is that on the interweb?
Yeah, it's a streaming music service. If that kind of thing interests you.
Whoa, slow down. I was still writing down internet. Okay.
Yeah, it's one of those things you can get really, really lost. There's so many streaming services, but for my money, Spotify is the easiest to navigate. Has a huge catalog, a few different, 3 different levels of sound quality. None of them really approaching quote unquote audiophile levels, but good enough, really good enough. And
we here at the Commonwealth are accepting sponsors.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure Spotify is they're already trying to figure out how to get in touch with us. So I think the Star Wars live action show. This is something that every so often we bring this topic up, and we spin around in circles. So let's do that again here now. There was a piece in the Hollywood Reporter with whatever the name's guy is, the name of the guy who runs ABC or Disney. You can tell I really did my homework on this part. But anyway, there's a part where the guy was asked, "Is there a plan for a live action Star Wars series?" And the reply was that the live action Star Wars plan rests in the hands of Alan Horn, who works for Walt Disney Studios, and Kathy Kennedy at Lucasfilm. And so they're very hopeful of a live action show, but they don't want to get anybody's hopes too high. They've got a lot of movies. By they mean Lucasfilm. A lot of movies in the hopper, and they're doing Star Wars Rebels, and they're talking about the next animated show. So I don't know. To you guys, James, is this like managing expectations, or is this sort of setting the table for making sure you don't burn out your story group, like spreading them too thin, so to speak?
I think it's a little bit of both, but I would say my first instinct or my biggest sort of guess would be they're waiting to see how Rogue One is received before pushing ahead with more non-saga stuff.
Yeah, that's probably fair, I think. Yeah, with Rogue One being such an experiment, an unprecedented experiment, I guess they have an idea of what to expect, but I guess they're unsure of the fallout, so to speak.
Well, I think we all sort of feel like it's going to be successful, and I think they're banking on it. You know, I don't think anybody thinks it's going to flop, but at the same time, I don't know if they're going to run ahead and run with a TV series now before they find out that it's a big success. It would be a gamble, and there's these things sort of have to fall into place, ducks in a row and all that. So it just makes sense to me that they would wait to make sure that Rogue One is successful, and maybe based on it, how it's received, they may fine tune whatever kind of series they were going to run with.
Well, I think maybe you just stumbled upon the answer. Really, is that in the end, these things probably take longer to coalesce and come to fruition than any of us would like. That's just the way it is. Like we want all this stuff and we want it now, but we're getting plenty of stuff now already as it stands. So we just have to sit back and let things come to us a little bit. So, Corey, what's your take on all this?
I think James just made an interesting point in stating that I didn't think of this really, that they'll see how Rogue One is received, which to me would kind of make their decision more. What are they going to choose between? Which platform are they going to use to show the product? Kind of, like, are they going to go Netflix or ABC? Because both can offer different things. With, one could be a little more darker than the other. I don't think it's a framework canon thing where they're going to overuse the writers or whatever. It all depends what time period they want to use, like what kind of stories they want to tell. Like, I've always had the idea of having like either a bounty hunter story or a one-off story where every episode is different, which in that case is not going to affect canon all that much, but you'll have something cool every week. The hard part is really like working it into canon. So what they really need is a long-term plan as to what eras and stories they want to attack. And the other thing too is they've already, as he mentioned, they're trying to figure out what the next animated series is going to be. And I can wait for a live action too if they have another animated series planned too. Like, they don't want to oversaturate the market. I think they're going to bide their time slowly. And like you had mentioned too, Kyle, basically these things don't just happen overnight.
Yeah, as when we do something as simple as record a promo for the show or write it, it just takes these creative endeavors, days, if not weeks, for them to come into place. And when you're talking about something on the scale of Star Wars, which, not just from a story perspective, but from a business standpoint, how you're going to integrate this into the whole marketing machine, these things take years. Even if you have multiple executives sort of with their own groups working away at it, it just takes more time than we want. And that's the way it is. We have to learn to live with that. But it's not as if we have a shortage of Star Wars content. So maybe we don't need to be so greedy all the time, right?
Of course, it's coming, and eventually it will come. We just need to be patient. And it's true, they don't want to oversaturate the market again. Like, you don't want to have 4 Star Wars shows running at once, kind of deal, And then 3 movies.
Blasphemy!
Coming.
Blasphemy! What do you mean you can't handle 4 Star Wars shows at once?
No. Let's
No, you're right. I couldn't. I don't think I could either. Anyway, so that interview was with one Ben Sherwood, who basically is the top dog at ABC. If you're looking for him. So yeah, that's it for that. I don't have anything else to add. We just have to sit and wait and hope that something presents itself as either a story idea or an opening in a schedule that allows them to get to this. But until then, we've got tons of other stuff to get to, and we have tons of other stuff to get to. So let's plow ahead to the I guess the most latest Rebels clip featuring the Bendu guy. And I'm starting to look at this Bendu guy as sort of a mashup of Willie the Giant from Disney and like some sort of weird caribou with those antlers.
Who's the guy from Neverending Story? You remember the Rock dude?
I think James would be a better person to answer that one. I haven't seen that since it came out.
I'm stumped. I know exactly who you're talking about. Sort of
as
looks
long
like
as you
the
know,
looks like the trash heap from Fraggle Rock.
Yeah, kind of.
It's gonna bug me. We could quickly Google that, I suppose. But yeah,
that's fine. Either way, he's a giant like piece of the land. It looks like, or something.
So I mean, I trust we all watched the clip, and I'm sure Corey has tons to say about it. So Corey, why don't you spill your guts on what you thought of this latest clip?
Well, I'll first start by saying that I'm wrong in the sense that I think last week I'd mentioned something along the lines of that not happening this soon in the series or season 3, but it looks like this is happening right off the bat. But I thought this was going to be fodder for later episodes. This is something we would build up to, but no, that's not the case. Just building up to mysticism. Filoni's God. Like, I think you had mentioned this, Kyle, that he's played on this so much, having worked on the Clone Wars and the Mortis trilogy. Basically,
yeah. I mean, there's not many people other than Filoni that have had the type of access to George Lucas himself to pick his mind on thoughts on the Force and the spirituality of it all. And it really feels like this is where season 3 is going, at least for the Ezra Kanan storyline.
Well,
like they're exploring parts of the Force that we've never seen explored before, and I think for you specifically, I think you are super into that.
Yeah, I love the mysticism surrounding it, and that's like, I think by the end of, he's just going to run us in a circle. I know James had mentioned in past episodes that the Force is a sacred thing, and we need to keep it mystified. Like, we don't need to know all that much about it. I feel like we can know a little more, and I think this guy's going to provide a little bit of insight, but I think it's still going to be as mystic as before. He says some really, really interesting stuff. He mentions the Ashla and the what is it, the Bogan?
Yep.
And he's basically saying that the Ashla is kind of like the light, and the Bogan is the dark, and he's called the Bendu.
Right. That's straight out of George Lucas's script from the 70s.
Yeah, I remember that. But I never heard Bendu before, and he's the middle, and he just seems so wise. He just seems so cool and wise, and he mentions
because he doesn't have time for either side's BS.
No, he wants to be left in peace. Basically, he is the balance. Like, he basically says when Kanan came here, like, it was like a firestorm, like this hurricane of emotion that, like, he just knew that someone else was there, and that he beckons to Kanan. Like, the first thing he says is, "You heard my call," which is so cool. But the one thing that he mentions that kind of is going to play into possibly even the saga is that he says an object cannot make you good or bad. Only you can change yourself. Like, that being said, there's so much you can take away from that. Like, Ezra can, if anyone, I think Ezra can walk that fine line. You know, it kind of gives the Jedi more of an, not just, you know, you can't love people, you have to walk this monkish, like, you have to be a monk, you have to devote yourself to the Jedi. I think that's kind of clouded, and when we go back to the ancient roots, I think they're going to be able to explore more facets of life than just being bound to the Jedi code.
For a guy who knows absolutely nothing, this guy sounds a little bit like Tom Bombadil.
He does, eh?
A little bit.
I hadn't thought of that. Well, not that I'm a Lord of the Rings expert by any stretch. Well, go with that, James. Go with that. Explain how that similarity plays out.
From your description of sort of a goofy, which giant did you call him? Fee-Fi-Fo-Fum Willie?
Well, he doesn't. He definitely doesn't look goofy.
I was pulling something
sure.
from Disney, from like a children's show. The Bendu doesn't seem goofy at all, but I was just pulling it more for the size.
Okay, well, and that's fine too. Actually, yeah, Tom's not a small guy, but just the idea that he's sort of wise, like anciently wise, and yet doing his own thing, wants to be left alone, content, sort of that doesn't need other people. I don't know. Just sounds like there's some parallels, probably drawn on purpose, or not to mimic Tom Bombadil himself, but that kind of character, that enigmatic type character.
He just seems like
the guy he doesn't have time for the agendas of the dark side, and he doesn't have time for the drama of the light side. He just get out of here with your junk. Just leave me alone.
Yeah, see, that's very Tom. That's very Tom Bombadil-ish.
Then yeah, it seems like very much like this. It could be another take on that archetype character. But something that Corey had mentioned, that the Bendu had said about how objects don't turn people evil, that people basically choose for themselves. And I thought that was a very interesting, or could be a very interesting commentary on our state of affairs today, regarding the gun debate, especially south of the border. Whereas guns don't kill people, it's people kill people. The guns themselves aren't bad. It's what people choose to do with it once they have it. And I wonder if we're going to be able to pull any more of that type of social commentary. That's one thing I've never really looked for in the animated shows, is social commentary. But I wonder if this is a spot where Dave Filoni and group maybe took a shot at something.
It's possible.
Obviously, we'll have to wait and see.
When I was in college, basically, I took a class called Cinema Beyond Childhood. The teacher, I'd seen him walking the halls prior, and he bartended at a bar in our local town. He looked like a guy from the Matrix.
Yeah, don't mention St. Anne de Bellevue, because
no one knows.
I think maybe 3 or 4 people know what you're talking about, and 3 of the people are on this call right now.
Anyway, the local the local main street, basically in the college town. This guy looked like he was straight out of the Matrix. And then finally I end up in his class. He's like the most intimidating guy. He looked like total steampunk. And then he's showing us clips of like Mickey Mouse from like the 40s and the political commentary that it was actually making. It's super interesting. And I'm sure there's tons of it in Star Wars.
In the films, yes. Obviously. I don't know. I don't know if a good group of guys to answer that question would be the Beltway Banthas. Their podcast is specifically about Star Wars regarding politics. So I'd be curious to hit those guys up and see if Clone Wars and or Rebels has been doing that kind of thing. Because my antenna wasn't really up for that when I watch. I just kind of consumed the Star Warsiness of it all.
How about this before you close out on the Bendu, Kyle? Bendu toy.
I don't know. A Bendu toy. I mean, I guess I could see it. I mean, they made a toy of the Rancor Keeper. They can make a toy of anything if they wanted to, but from what we can see, you can't really call it an action figure. This guy doesn't seem like he wants to move 2 feet one way or the other.
No, display piece.
Yeah, maybe some kind of bust or statuette or something like that. But yeah, I'm not going to look forward to seeing him on the pegs at any point. All right, so what? We're down to about 6 days until the season premiere of Rebels. And I'm sorry, guys. It's 13 days if you're in the UK. I don't mean to rub it in.
But we're getting next week. It's only a 30-minute episode. I think I'd seen you tweet. No.
Yeah, I well, unless my PVR is wrong, I skipped all the way ahead until next Saturday to see what was scheduled to record, and it says only 30 minutes. So that looks like what we're getting. Moving ahead here, we're going to talk about really quickly these posters that came out midweek last week. One is a Japanese poster, the other South Korean. Did you guys take a look at those?
Sure did.
I mean, I hope my opinion didn't color your thoughts, but Corey, what did you think right off the hop?
Really, the first one where they're in that tunnel that lights up for Jin. Like, to be honest, Kyle, I think if you gave me, because Kyle has a background in graphic art, I think if you gave me a 1-hour course, I think I could literally do a better job. It literally looked like it was cut out from a magazine and glued there. Like, it was horrible. Like, I don't know if maybe that's the style or the culture out there. They like that look, if you will. But if Disney's wanting to bust into these markets, I mean, you would figure they know and they have these teams on hand to attack these kind of promotional ideas. But man, yeah, not cool. In my opinion,
not cool. James, do you echo Corey's sentiments, or do you see any type of redeeming quality to these?
No, I want to add to his perfectly laid out description of the terrible poster. Jin looks completely unheroic. Did you take a look at like her posture and like the pose that they put her in for that poster? It's awful.
Yeah, like she just looks out of sorts for a Star Wars movie. I don't know if, like Corey alluded to, if the culture is maybe, again, I'm going to flap my big ignorant mouth, but are they less welcoming of a female lead so that you have to dumb her down a little bit on the poster and take her edge off and hand that to the other male leads? Like, is that a thing? If so, I guess it is what it is then until their society changes a little bit. But whew,
yeah, having taken anthropology, that's a very good observation, James. I think you're dead on there in a way. Like, it's true. Now thinking back on it, I don't have them on hand, but it's like her posture's almost slouched. Like, you're almost thinking that she's the one that needs. Yeah, like she's the one that's delicate and needs to be saved, and then not the real badass that she actually is.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I as someone who's been a graphic artist for 15 years, I'm not going to knock the Photoshop skills. Like, someone cut out these characters correctly, quote unquote, and gave them little reflections on the floor, and that was done just fine. But what really is setting me off with not just this poster, but the South Korean one as well, they're just lazy and uninspired. They're just terrible as concepts. Like,
the other one, I have to say, the other one's not nearly as bad to me because it's not super well executed, but I like the look of the Death Star hanging over the beach like that. Like, I don't know. I think it sort of looks cool.
well, it is better, and at least it has more of a focal point, or it gives you a better understanding. At least it gives you Jyn Erso, as in she's the lead of the movie.
She looks out of place in the poster, frankly, but you're right. At least she looks like the lead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty clear. And thematically, having the Death Star in the back is appropriate, and I think it's done pretty well. But
it's literally hanging over her head.
Yeah, and if thinking back to the synopsis that we read, was it last week or the week before? That makes sense. So maybe I should ease up on this poster just a bit. But I just find them, both of them, like the Japanese one, the black one, I find is potentially the worst Star Wars poster in history. The worst. It's that bad. And I'm going to wrap The Force Awakens up with this too, because the movie poster for that was also pretty lazy. And again, not to knock the Photoshop skills of the artist or artists who worked on it. I'm sure they're very good at their jobs. But the concept of it just seems to pander to a lowest common denominator type thing. Whereas when you go back to the original trilogy days, I have like a 400-page hardcover book on the posters of Star Wars that took us right through the prequels, when it seemed to me that there's an entire subculture of collectors who are just in on the posters, with good reason, because there are so many different flavors to them. Whereas now everything just seems to be very collage and Photoshop laziness, and I just find myself yearning for those days when the posters were taken seriously. And I guess overall it's a nitpick.
I wonder, Kyle, if it's because they're too easy to make now. Whereas in the past, if you were going to go to the trouble of building a poster and all that work, the end product would be good, because the people with the sort of skills to pull off a poster would make good posters. But now anybody can sort of grab a mouse and a laptop and click, and there you go.
Yeah, I mean, you see fan art all the time, and people do some really, really outstanding work, and that could be a part of it. I wonder if part of it also is budgetary, where you would think that Disney / Lucasfilm have as much money as they want, but maybe they just choose to not place too much importance on that.
No, I disagree there.
Feel free to disagree.
Yeah, they're using every tool they have. Like, especially, we've talked about this prior in the show, that I don't know if it hasn't done so. I know it's not doing great in China, but I think that's all going to change with Rogue One. Hopefully, I think they're trying to play toward that. But
absolutely,
like, it calls everything to question. Like, to me, it has to be something with a culture. Like, I think maybe that's the style over there right now or something. Because Disney, you got to say, like, although this week I've been disappointed, I've said many times before, again on the show, that I have blind faith in what they've been doing. But this whole Rebels blunder that we've just discussed at the beginning of the show is kind of called that into question. But I really have to think that just for how poorly it was done, it has to be like that's what that culture is liking at the moment. Like those kind of, like, I don't know, like whatever it is, that's what they're used to, and that's what they like. Because I can't see it being a budgetary thing, especially if they're trying to break into that market. They must have done their homework.
You're probably right. I can't imagine a world in which budget for these guys is an issue. So I'll go to my next explanation then. Whereas, they're very, Disney especially is very, buttoned down when it comes to branding and consistency across the board. So I wonder if then they need to sort of standardize things so that they all quote unquote speak the same visual language, and everybody knows, oh, I'm looking at a Star Wars poster now. So the one that you see in North America versus Korea versus Japan, they all kind of look similar. They may not be exact, but you know, just looking at it, oh yeah, there it is. That's the Rogue One poster. And I hope that's not it either, because you have so many different tools at your disposal now. Just use them. Make the posters great again. I'll Donald Trumpify this. Make the posters great again. Do something inspired. Anyway, I think that's our second rant for this episode.
We may need another hashtag. No, I agree. We may need another hashtag. What they have to do is hire somebody like, Warhol. I mean, I know they can't hire Warhol, but do you know what I mean? Like, they need to hire somebody to do a series of posters to sort of set the tone again.
Yeah, well, they had Drew Struzan, right? Who's been doing the artwork. He did them for the special editions, and he did them through the prequels, and they looked unified, and they looked pretty special. But for some unknown reason, they didn't go with him for The Force Awakens, which I think everybody thought was a slam dunk. And he did do a poster. Going back, they had a Star Wars Celebration. Was it in California or Florida a couple of years ago, where they released that Force Awakens sizzle reel? I can't remember where that was, but he was commissioned to do a poster for that, and it looked great. So I don't know why he wasn't asked to do more. I don't know if it's availability or if they just want to go in different directions. But what I did learn over the months is that they use this. I don't know who they is. The same studio that does the posters for the Marvel movies did the poster for The Force Awakens, and it shows, right? They're very, very similar looking movies, or posters, I should say.
Yeah.
And all to say that they're colorful, they're snazzy, they're glossy, but ultimately they're kind of boring.
No, I totally agree with you. Like, I think we need a painting. Something with some love in there.
Yeah, something unique, something that stands out. Just do something a little different. That's all. I'm not asking for too much, I don't think. Considering all the other goodness that they've done, put the same thought into the posters. But anyway, I digress, I suppose, for now. We'll probably get back onto this when we see, if we see more artwork out there. Moving ahead. I think a lot of people were... I'm not... What's the right word? They were sort of nervous about what they would hear from Alexandre Desplat? I don't know. For the Rogue One soundtrack. But now they don't have to worry anymore, because he's out, and Michael Giacchino, he's in. And I think people are breathing a sigh of relief to a large degree now. The reshoots that we're all so not worried about seem to have bumped Alexandre Desplat out of the picture completely. So he's out, and they've called in a ringer in Michael Giacchino, who they have a long-standing relationship with. He's done a lot of work for Disney, including Lost, that was on ABC, Up, Cars 2, Inside Out recently, and Zootopia. So they know him very well. And that sounds like a lot of animated movies, which you would think, oh, that's very kiddie stuff. But he's done the recent Star Trek movies. His catalog is huge,
which is also
he's done so much work.
Bad Robot,
right? So he did Super 8 as well, and the Star Trek reboots, which provides a J.J. Abrams connection. He did Jurassic World, which provides a Colin Trevorrow connection if they need him for episode 9, if John Williams decides he's not going to do episode 9. So I mean, people are
sounds like Desplat got nepotized out of that job, man.
Maybe who knows? I mean,
Kyle said it first.
People are saying that the schedule sort of dictated that Desplat was no longer available to score the movie. Now I don't know if that's him just saying, well, I need this much time and you're only giving me that much time, so I'm out.
It's also a very nice way for him to save face.
That too, right? I mean, it wasn't that long ago that someone had shoved a microphone in his face, and he was saying that he was going to be getting to work on that in the near future. So I wonder if he's started, and he's just decided that no, I don't have enough time to do this.
Yeah, because
So now Giacchino is pressed into duty here. He's got what we're sitting at 88 days until Rogue One drops. He's got to get to work.
yeah, I
We're,
would think
we're
too
Lindros away.
the next person that Disney chooses too, it's they're gonna have to explain to him like, look, guy, this is for the long run. This isn't just 1 or 2 movies. Like, you're gonna be scoring a lot of movies till you're like John Williams age, kind of. And maybe Diplo was kind of just like too much of a daunting task for him, and he was just kind of like, yeah, no, like, I don't want to devote my life to this.
Well, we don't know, right? Like, we don't know if Disney is looking for one guy to take care of the Star Wars franchise, or if they are going to pick a composer based on the tone of the movie, the subject of the movie, or availability. Who knows? I like to think that they would prefer to have one guy, or maybe a couple of go-to guys. And Giacchino was one of the guys that almost everybody is pointing at, saying that's one. Get him on board, and now he's in, and he seems like the natural fit to take over once John Williams decides he's out. I guess I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I can't say that I've seen a lot of movies that feature his music, but I can't say that I know the music that well. So anyway, it's just something else to look forward to, I guess. Anybody else want to chime in?
Yeah, one quick question I got for both you guys is, we talked about this, I think 2-3 weeks ago, that, John Williams, he's probably seen a good amount of episode 8 at this point in an attempt to score the film, and he's way, way ahead of schedule, which is great. We're going to have a great product because of that fact. But having just hired this guy, this movie's coming out in December. I know they just finished reshoots, but at this point, I kind of thought that they would have a bit more of a grasp on this. It seems a bit rushed. Like, it is a bit of a pressure project at this point. Like he's gonna have.
Well, yeah, that's what I was just saying. He's gonna have to get to work.
Yeah, it's kind of intense. Like, I mean, you got to get inspired and fast.
Corey, you started that sentence by saying you had a quick question.
Yeah, what's the question?
Well, just basically, what do you guys think about like that time difference? Basically, the fact that this movie is it's September, it's coming out in December. Like,
Williams has all the time in the world seemingly, whereas this guy's got none.
Yeah, he's got I mean, they got to be finished editing and stuff by, I would think, December. So he's got 3 months to create a whole score for an entire film that he hasn't seen yet.
I wonder how much music will be borrowed. Sure. For sure, I'd have to think we're for sure going to get the Imperial March in this movie, and then it might even feature very heavily in this movie,
like a Kevin Kiner spin on earlier works.
Yeah, sure. I'm sure we're going to hear all kinds of familiar themes, but I don't know. I don't know. He's going to have either way, he's going to have to really get to work, and I don't know if he's going to take what Desplat, I'm sure, has already written something. Maybe he just takes that and revises it to his own liking. I don't know, but for sure, it seems like a daunting task, with 88 days to go before the movie's released.
Well, I guess my question was really like, are you guys surprised that they're this late in the game and it's not composed?
A little.
Yeah, mildly, for sure. I'm not surprised that it's not finished. But I am surprised that, seemingly they're back to square one with the music. Anyway, if I guess my final thought on this is if they like Giacchino's work, if you take a look at his schedule up to 2019, he's kind of open. I know that's projecting pretty far ahead, but once you get through 2017 with him, and of course that's still John Williams territory. In 2019, he's only got The Incredibles Part 2. So I'm not saying, but I'm just saying. Okay, let's keep on blitzing ahead here. My God, there's a lot. We're still not done with the news here. Felicity Jones spoke this week about the inspiration for the Jyn Erso character, and if there was anybody, one female protagonist, and not that she has to choose a female, but if there was going to be somebody who she'd model her performance after, I think the answer that she gave was music to everybody's ears. It was music to my ears. So she outlined that sort of the template for her character was Sigourney Weaver's Ellen Ripley character, which just put a big smile across my face. James, what do you think?
Yeah, I it's funny because I sort of had that idea in my head before she even said it, that's the kind of character, not that specific direct link, but that's when I read it, I thought, oh yeah, that's what I was hoping her character would sort of be like, the tone she would take, the persona she would portray. So I was pretty excited to hear that. As I can tell, Kyle, you were too. What about you, Corey?
Yeah, I'm totally stoked. Who wouldn't be? Ripley's super, super badass, but I don't see her being like Ripley, like, in the sense that Ripley, you can see her like brandishing this giant submachine gun where she's just like wailing on it. I don't see it in that sense. I see her being more just super serious and a strong woman, able to handle herself. Like, just, you wouldn't want to mess with her.
The thing with Ripley, right, is she found, like, she was obviously a smart, strong woman, but she was somebody that found herself in a situation that she shouldn't have been in. So I think that's kind of where the crossover happens, where Jyn Erso has to rise to the occasion that she didn't expect to find herself in.
I like that.
And I think
I like that perspective.
So let's keep plowing ahead here. Let's catch our breaths. Breathe in. And here's the clickbaitiest part of the week, which I found hysterical.
It was awful.
So Adam Driver's... Wasn't it awful?
Yeah, really,
I mean,
dumb.
Like, this... Okay, here we go. Adam Driver says Episode 8 script is a lot like Empire Strikes Back. That's the headline, and that was the headache. Yeah, it gave me headaches. That was the headline that was more or less spread across the internet.
Everybody who had that story had that headline or something very similar.
Yeah, just swapping out a word here or there.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, wait a second. And so you read the story. And let's debunk the clickbaity nature of this article and get to what Driver really said. So, what did Adam Driver actually say with regards to the script? And this goes to show that the lazy nature of so many websites now who are just looking to shake the beehive.
No, they just want to get numbers.
Exactly. So he basically said that it's similar to how The Empire Strikes Back has a different tone. For that, people always go, ooh, it's dark, but I don't know that it necessarily is. So there's more to the quote, but this is the relevant part. When asked about the script, he just said, it's similar to how The Empire Strikes Back has a different tone.
The Empire Strikes Back had a different tone than the other movies. This movie has a different tone than The Force Awakens. Therefore, it's the same script as Empire Strikes Back.
Isn't that awful?
Doesn't make it...
That websites did that? Adam Driver says that Episode 8 is just like Empire Strikes Back.
It's awful.
No, he didn't. He just said it was different in the same way that Empire was different.
Yeah. Yeah.
In the same way that Monday is different than Thursday. It was just, it's so frustrating to me.
And even at that, though, like, regardless, it will be somewhat similar. Like, they're headed in that same direction. Like, things are dire. And, I hope they do go in that direction in all honesty. Like, Empire is my favorite film, and I think it's going to draw on it, but that's not exactly what he's saying here.
Well, right. I mean, look at the Two Towers, right? It's plunging your characters into the worst possible scenario.
The second movie, second book in a trilogy, you're going to have some similarities just because that's how you tell a story.
Yeah, George Lucas said this once. I think it was part of interviews that were included on, I don't know if it was the 94 VHS release or if it was the special edition release. But in the first chapter, you introduce the characters. In the second, you put them in a terrible scenario. And in the third chapter, they overcome it. That's just how stories have been told for thousands of years. So, yeah, I guess in a very real sense, episode 8 will kind of mirror Empire in that by the end of it, it's going to look really bad for the heroes. But the details of all that don't necessarily have to be lockstep with Empire. In fact, I don't know if it will. Right down to the lopping off of the right hand. We don't know. We have absolutely no idea. But all the same, are you guys worried about that? Did it? I mean, I don't think it bothered any of us that The Force Awakens really looked a lot like A New Hope. Did it? Like, are you worried about Episode 8 looking like The Empire Strikes Back?
I've said this
James,
before. Yeah, no, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. I really liked the way they handled The Force Awakens, and to me, it was the closest thing to a reboot that everybody would actually like. What I mean is, once I show my kids The Force Awakens, if I showed them it first, they would get the experience I got with A New Hope. They'll get that story, basically, but told in a way that they'll enjoy it, because it's a little bit more modern and the effects will hold up a little better. But I like the way that it was a reboot or homage to one of my favorite movies, and I go out and say that I hope the second movie is the same. I hope it's another sort of reboot, shadow homage of Empire.
I certainly won't complain. Having it be my favorite of the Star Wars movies, I won't complain. And that said, I hope they do something new and different. I think we're kind of ready for that, for Star Wars to start pushing off into different directions, as long as it stays true, I guess, and familiar as a Star Wars property. Yeah. So one of the other quotes that I thought was interesting, coming from that Collider interview that Adam Driver gave, is he said he trusts that, or he's talking about Rian Johnson now. He trusts that his audience is ready for nuance and ambiguity. He's not dumbing anything down for someone, and that's really fun to play. So Corey, what does nuance and ambiguity mean for you in Episode 8? Knowing nothing about the movie.
It means your Snoke
what
theory.
Do you think it means?
It means your Snoke theory sucks. No, it's just
every time we say that, the Steel Wars gets a royalty.
That's okay. Either way,
yeah,
that's a good one. But no, what it sounds like to me is just that it sounds super exciting. And when he says that, it means like we're gonna learn something. There's something that he's gonna do with this film that's different. We're gonna get a reveal. We're gonna be able to presume or assume or infer something by the end of the movie. Like it's gonna possibly change our views on a character. And it's going to leave us on a cliffhanger, as usual.
Yeah, I would definitely leaving us with questions unanswered. James, what do you think? What do you think it means? What do you want it to mean?
Nuance and ambiguity. I'm not exactly sure, but that's probably what he wants. No. No, I think that means I don't think he's trying to be too coded there. I think he's saying we're not going to spell everything out, and you're going to have to pay attention to sort of to follow the story, which I like.
We're going to have plenty to talk about, right? There's going to be probably umpteen different takes on what we see.
Right. With
the three of us might come to the table here after seeing it in 2018. And have three wildly different opinions on what we saw.
And I'll be right.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
So what I think, I guess, and what I think and what I hope is going on is that when all these guys, I can't remember who it was, Dave Filoni's in one room working, and J.J. Abrams is sort of floating around in the hallways, and Rian Johnson's in another hallway or another room writing away. I hope at some point what it all means is that they're all sitting in a room together discussing blank topic about Star Wars, and how then they go their separate ways and weave all that conversation into their shows. So I'm hoping that, when we're looking at the current setup for Rebels, that it looks to me like we're going to get a lot of conversation about the Force, the nature of the Force, and I think a lot of it's going to be new to us, and a lot of what we assumed might change. And I think we're going to get that as well in Episode 8. And I think that's sort of where these things dovetail together a little bit, in that you do have to be paying attention a lot, but also that they're really opening the door here. Like George Lucas may have only touched the surface of what the Force is. Like I think they're going to start getting real deep. And when you look at some of the things that are rumored from Episode 8, you could certainly see how the nature of the Force is certainly going to be a hot topic.
Yeah, for sure. You made a perfect point there, Kyle. I've actually been writing something recently that has been merging our changing thoughts of the Force. And yeah, I hope it all dovetails together.
Okay, last thing here before we take a break, a well-deserved break. I'm running out of breath here. Recent headlines are saying that Chewbacca is going to join the Jedi Showdown in Episode 8. So, spoiler alert, if you've avoided spoilers so far for Episode 8, skip ahead a few minutes. Maybe you'll land right in the middle of a Talk Star Wars promo. But reports were saying that Luke and Rey are going to take on Kylo Ren and the Knights of Ren, which makes sense. I mean, I think anybody could have drawn that conclusion. But the locale is going to be set on Act 2. Now, who else is on Act 2 with Luke and Rey? Well, Chewie and R2 dropped them off there. And Chewbacca and the actor that plays him, the Finnish boy, I can't remember his name anymore, Eunice Suotomo, something like that. Anyway, he was spotted in Ireland. So Chewbacca shot scenes on Act 2, most likely. It makes sense. And Corey, you were saying this way back when, that Chewbacca is going to have to do something. He's not going to sit there with his feet up on the Falcon while Luke and Rey scrap it out. So doesn't it make all the sense in the world that Chewbacca is going to be part of this big brawl between the Knights of Ren,
this melee,
and yeah, exactly. It makes sense, right?
Yeah. But from what early reports had said as well, this is the drum I was banging on way back in the day, is that supposedly a ship crashes, and I really more see Chewie's role being with R2 on the Falcon, and them just coming out of nowhere, boom, boom, boom. They take Kylo Ren's ship out. But yeah, I don't see Chewie fighting side by side with Luke. No, I really don't. But I have to say, I would love to see Chewie get into some real hand-to-hand combat instead of just throttling someone. Like, I'd like to see him take up like a weapon, like an axe or a bow or something, and just, like really show us his moves.
Yeah, I mean, James, what do you think?
I don't know that I want to see Chewie fight Force users. I don't know. Maybe I'm underestimating.
If the Knights of Ren are Force users.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. Although I'm right now in my mind that they probably are if they're going to take on Luke and.
Well, yeah, one way or the other, Chewie's putting himself into the middle of a scrap full of Force users. Luke, Rey, Ren, right there off the hop, and then we aren't certain about the Knights of Ren. So he's putting himself in harm's way and possibly at a very serious disadvantage, right?
I don't know. Yeah, that's it. Maybe I'm underestimating Wookiees in battle. We hear that they tear arms off and stuff. So I wasn't excited to hear that. I couldn't visualize how it would work to have a Wookiee fighting with. I mean, I guess he could be shooting from a distance. What I sort of thought it meant, the way I had my exit strategy in my mind for you could have Chewie on Ahch-To is right at the beginning of the fight, someone says, "Get the droids out of here," and then they all fly away. But, I don't know how exactly the whole thing's going to play out, so who knows?
Yeah, I mean, the thought terrifies me. I think as cool of a sequence that could be on film, it terrifies me. I mean, for as powerful and strong and tough as Chewie is, I don't want to see him go toe to toe with these butchers, especially if they're Force users.
Well, let's think too.
That
we've seen Zeb. Zeb is the early character basis for Chewbacca, and I won't say he's gone toe to toe with Inquisitors, but like even Ahsoka told him, like, no, you've dealt with them before. Like, you're good to go. And like episodes of Rebels were like, yeah, like go on this mission. Like, you've dealt with them. But Zeb's obviously,
and he's been smoked a couple times.
Yeah, but he's also a lot more agile than Chewie. Like, I don't see Chewie getting in the fray like that at all. I think it's fan fiction. I think we know he's on Act 2, and his role would maybe sniping some of them from a cliff, or again using the Falcon to his advantage. Maybe Rey pulling a Back to the Future and jumping off the cliff, as rumors again have said that she's like disbanded off a cliff. Maybe he picks her up with the Falcon.
Well, I mean, you got to do something with Chewie, right? You just can't not have him do anything for the entire movie, right? He's got to do something. So whether it's getting everybody out of there, or if he's going to show up as some sort of form of air support, or if he's on the ground with them, makes all the sense in the world that he's involved somehow. But and if you're bringing Chewie into the mix, why not R2? He's not going to sit on the ship. He never has.
Exactly.
Doing nothing. He's always gotten himself involved.
Is he going to spark somebody?
Imagine R2 chasing around the Knights of Ren, just sparking them with his little gun. Maybe he hoses them down with oil and sets a couple of them on fire. But again, this report sort of conflicts with previous reports that say that Luke kind of takes out all the Knights of Ren. Right? So either Chewie like shows up to help support Luke and then is like, oh, he's got this, or Chewie gets it handed to him, or he's off doing something else. But it seems like these two reports don't quite fit together perfectly yet. Anyway, that's kind of it for the Star Wars news. My God, we're finally at the end of the Star Wars news segment for the show, and with a couple rants mixed in. But good job, guys. I think we're ready for a break.
Awesome.
Oh yeah, go Dagwoods.
They really should sponsor us at some point.
If we say it enough times, it's got to come true.
We'll see. We'll see about that. I mean, at the very least, they could, if they just sent us a sandwich or something, for real. Okay, so let's take a break. Let's hear from our pals at the Star Wars Commonwealth at Talk Star Wars, and we shall be back in a couple minutes.
Hey guys.
Yeah?
We need to record a promo for the podcast. You got any suggestions?
Well, we need to keep it as simple as possible.
That sounds good.
Something like, if you like Star Wars and you listen to podcasts, you should check out the Talk Star Wars podcast on iTunes.
Or we could really motivate people to listen.
What do you have in mind?
Well, you could tell people they should listen to Talk Star Wars, or they will feel the power of a fully armed and operational battle station.
No. You can't do that.
Why?
We can't threaten people.
Oh.
Steve's right. Simple is probably best. Like this. I'm Mark.
I'm Stephen.
And I'm Rob.
If you love Star Wars,
and you listen to podcasts,
then you should check out our show, Talk Star Wars.
You can subscribe to Talk Star Wars on iTunes.
And find us on Stitcher Radio.
And find full episodes of the podcast on our YouTube channel.
You can find the podcast and everything else we do at talkstarwars.co.uk.
And you can play with us on Twitter by following @TalkStarWars.
You should also head to facebook.com/TalkStarWars and like our Facebook page. Or we will strike you down with all of our hatred, and your journey towards the dark side will be complete.
That's not cool.
I've said it now.
Head to talkstarwars.co.uk and join us as we talk Star Wars.
Or else.
And we're back from our break. Go check out Talk Star Wars. Thank us later. Founding members of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Well worth your time. Go say hi. Tell them we sent you. And with that, let's get back to the show. And I think, James, you wanted to talk about a little side project you're working on with Rob over at Talk Star Wars.
Yeah, just quickly, since we just came off their promo Definitely, like Kyle said, check those guys out. We love our Commonwealth brothers, and they do it upright when it comes to Star Wars talk. And Rob over there from Talk Star Wars and his YouTube channel, Emotionally 14, and I have agreed to do a little Canada UK intercontinental rap battle. And what exactly that means is yet to be determined. But in some way, shape, or form, in the next several weeks, we'll be going back and forth with some friendly rap. There's a lot of love between me and Rob, so it won't be too hardcore, and we won't be trashing each other all over the internet. But we'll put together something that's fun and rhymes. We hope.
Sounds like a blast, man. I've gotten a little bit of an idea where this is going, and it's going to be hilarious.
Yeah, I think
At
it'll
worst,
be fun.
It'll be hilarious. At best, it's going to be epic.
Thanks, dude.
Yeah, I'm super stoked for it. There's been a lot of.
I don't know when this is going to come out, but
there's been a lot of talk on Twitter.
Yeah, Twitter's got a little sample. It's been sort of deemed the Gandalf versus Palpacino for now.
Nice.
We'll see how that works out.
That's a big card, man.
Yeah, that's a heavyweight. That's at Caesars for sure.
Michael Buffer shows up and everything.
It's funny that Michael Buffer's the big one now. Okay, let's move on with more Star Wars talk.
Let's do so. Corey, you ran a poll this week?
I actually ran 2 because we had to squeeze them in for the gearing up for Rebels segment there. So I'll get them off my chest quickly. I know we got a lot to get through still. So the first poll I ran this week was really actually very surprising. I thought there'd be a lot more commentary on this one. Last week we hit the 100 marker. This week, the first poll I sent out there, we hit the 35 marker. So I guess people just really aren't that interested in this topic. But the question was #Star Wars Rebels Inquisitors. Are they a lock in season 3 or are they done for? If yes, will any of them be a familiar face? So the options were duh, yes, guaranteed lock. Yes, and we get a glorious unveil. And C, move along, move along. So 66% of the vote came in at a resounding move along, which is very surprising to me. I really thought that people...
Not to me.
I know. It looks like their arc is done.
I like being on the winning side.
I still have a lot of questions. So that's a part of Star Wars lore that's not done for me, but it seems like a lot of people are just saying, we're done with that part of the story, which kind of makes sense with where we're going, but we still got a lot of brothers and sisters left. 20% of people said that if they do come back, yes, they will, when most of them have masks, we'll have a glorious unveil and an unmasking, which would be my vote. I would love to see that. I think and it just makes Star Wars what it is. I think that's the coolest approach to it. And only 14% of people said that, yes, it's a guaranteed lock, which is very surprising.
Well, like I said, I chose the move along. I see this as we talked about it a couple weeks ago. Like, how many bad guys can you stuff into a show? Like, we have Darth Maul, Thrawn, Tarkin. Who else? I think there's a couple others too.
Yeah,
like,
we have Callus
is still around. We don't know what's happening to him. You can't. I don't think you can put too many villains into a show before either you start diluting the pool and making them like not credible.
Well, I think we can give them at least one episode, maybe in an episode where they're interacting with Ezra. Like in his teeter-totter, walking his line to the dark side, kind of. Like, I want to know.
When was the last time like Dave Filoni just did something like in a one-off like that? I can't recall.
They did it right before the end of Rebels Season 2. There was all kinds of episodes where, like, the Forgotten Droid was more or less the main point of that episode was that Chopper got a cargo ship for them, but the whole episode was about artificial intelligence.
No, I mean, like a major a body like an Inquisitor. I mean, they're not going to just show up in a one-off. And with Vader and the Emperor reportedly out of the picture, at least for season 3, I don't think you're just going to have a bunch of Inquisitors running amok.
No, you have a one-off conclusion.
And especially with Darth Maul also kicking around. Right? Like, if they showed up, Darth Maul's just going to show up and like chop their heads off in 5 seconds.
Well,
so for those reasons, I think we're done with Inquisitors for quite some time.
It's just, I don't know. We've heard rumors that this could be the last season. So, I mean, there's a 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 6th brother or sister out there. And I kind of want more answers on what exactly they are and who they are. And maybe that'll play out in another way.
But ultimately, they're all pawns. They're all useless. Even the Grand Inquisitor, he's gone, useless. The 3 that died in the season 2 finale.
But he's not useless.
Useless.
Like, when you find out, like, to me, I had chills. The hairs on my neck stood up when he's the one who dubs Kanan a Jedi Knight in that temple, in that vision, that he was a former Jedi. Like, that just blew my mind when I saw that scene.
Yeah, but that's a Yoda-induced thing. That's not the actual Inquisitor doing that.
True, but I think there's always some truth to that kind of thing, you know? Like, Yoda's...
Yeah, sure.
It's that mystical, you know?
But fine, so the Grand Inquisitor had some relevance, but the rank and file, they're glorified stormtroopers to a certain extent. They're just weapons. I don't think they have anything to add.
Well, one thing we know for sure is that they're still out there, and I want to see some kind of conclusion.
Do we know that? Maybe they are dead.
Well, no, they reference them Well, no, you're right. Maybe they are dead, but they all have numbers, you know? Like, I'm sure there's some of them are still out there, and I want some kind of conclusion. So I was very shocked with the answers on this one. But either way, let's get to the second poll. The second poll, I wanted to get it out there too because it's pretty meaty, and this is the last poll we're going to be able to get out there before Season 3 debuts next weekend. So again, hashtag Star Wars Rebels. Will any significant characters or character meet their demise in Star Wars Rebels Season 3? And your choices were, yes, one of the Ghost Crew, yes, a secondary character, or no, everybody lives. So this one took off right out of the gates. I was really happy about this one. I put it out there, I think, on Friday. So we got 71 votes on this one. And 26% of people said, no, everybody lives, which is pretty surprising. 30% of people said, yes, one of the Ghost Crew members live, which is no big shock. And 44% of people said, yes, a secondary character is going to get it. Which is kind of the fence I was along. This poll kind of played into all the templates I was thinking of in my head, more or less. Like, there's no big shocks here. But it was still relatively close. And the more votes you get, again, every time, it changes so much. And thank you for all the retweets and the likes. It really helps get them off the ground. And I'm enjoying doing this, so... yeah.
So where did you fall?
I didn't vote on this one, to be honest, but I'm really on the fence between a Ghost member crew, and I think someone's going to get it for sure. Who, I don't know. But
I think I don't remember exactly what I voted for, to be honest. But I did vote for somebody dying. But I can't remember if it was Ghost Crew or a secondary character.
I see it being more like a Cham Syndulla, or I don't know if you want to call Rex secondary. But now people are saying that Rex is canon because of Jedi, but...
yeah, I love that story, actually. I think at some point, Kanan and or Ezra have to be dealt with. I mean, look back to the synopsis with Ezra last week, where he's gaining responsibility within the rebellion. He's becoming more powerful as a Force user. These guys just... simply aren't around, are they? In the original trilogy, could they be around but removed from the fight? I don't know. I really don't know, unless they kind of walk away from the battle, you know.
Well, I think...
where are these people? So at some point I think they have to be dealt with in some way.
Well, I think
And
everything's
so
gonna happen really quickly in season 3 of Rebels, because we'd said our the Bendu being in the first or second episode, and the last, like, we got these snippets last week of the titles. The last episode being the last battle, I believe, episode 6 of what we had heard. That's a significant title. Like, I'm kind of seeing the Ghost crew, kind of almost going their own ways. Like Ezra doing his own thing at that point. The Ghost crew will never be the same in a way.
Yeah, I mean, at some point the dominoes have to fall. Well, that's an interesting poll, and you're right. The more, I think, the more votes you get, the more kind of things regress to the mean a little bit, where things kind of blur together.
And I really do appreciate all the fan, like, the interaction. Like, I've asked a lot of people to help me out with the retweets, and like you said, the more the better. It really does change things.
Yeah, for sure. I posted no polls this week. I might do one this week, and we'll see. But I did post a blog, and hopefully a few people got out to read that. And let's chat about that now. So it's a pretty simple one, and ultimately it's just idle chatter while we sit and wait for the movies to come out. But I'm wondering, can Luke leave Ahch-To when he wants? Like, from things we're told in The Force Awakens, he went looking for the first Jedi Temple, and evidently he at least found the right planet, which means to me he was out on his own looking. So I presume somewhere on Ahch-To he's got a ship parked, which means if he so wanted to, he could just get back in that ship and leave. So what's he doing there? Is he waiting for somebody, or is he just living out the rest of his days in isolation? James, you've had you're recovering there for a couple minutes, catching your breath. What do you think?
I liked the blog post. It was I hadn't thought really about the idea that he could have a ship parked there, and when you pointed out in the post that they never really say he was dropped off, and since no one knows where he is, you'd assume no one dropped him off. So he must, either he crashed a ship there, or he flew a ship there, landed it, and the ship is in disrepair, or he can leave whenever he wants. So when I started thinking about that, I like the idea. I'd like to think that he can leave whenever he wants. It makes whatever he's doing there seem a little more important to me.
Yeah, like he's dedicated to whatever he's decided to do, right? Like, if he's decided he's going to hang around and wait for somebody to come and do something with him, then he's going to sit and wait. But if he's decided to live out his days in exile, well, and then just hanging out by the side of a cliff waiting to die is also kind of effective if nobody knows where you are.
Yeah, exactly.
Corey, what do you think? Does it make a difference? Does it change anything with regards to his motivations, or does it change anything about the character to you, whether or not he can leave?
Yeah, it does. I think James made a really good point. I didn't really think of it in that sense at first, but now that you mentioned it, yeah, like, who knows? He could have got dropped off there, but I think in all likelihood he found the place himself. Maybe his ship is in disarray, and at this point it probably is, but regardless if it is or isn't, I think at one point he had a vision, or he knows he's dedicated in finding this temple, and there's a reason for that. He knows that that's where his path lie, and he'll sit there and wait till he dies, just like we see in the episode of Rebels, Path of the Jedi. The episode Ezra gets his Kyber crystal. There's these dead Jedi in the temple, just bones, and they're masters awaiting their apprentices to come back from their trial to find their Kyber crystals, and they don't.
Yep, we're thinking along the same lines, because I allude to that in a blog post that I have in the hopper right now, that I think I'm going to hit the release button on that this week, perhaps as early as tomorrow. We'll see. We'll see when that comes out, but it's close to 2,000 words, and that particular reference in Path of the Jedi is a part of it. Exactly. Like, what is he doing? Is he waiting for someone to come? And again, like we a quick little sneak peek at one of the trains of thought in the blog pieces. We see in Rebels where it takes a master and apprentice to unlock certain things, temples in particular. So maybe Luke has found the temple, but maybe he can't get into it. Maybe he needs an apprentice or a partner to help him come and open that temple. So enter Rey, right?
Exactly. Like, I'm sure he had a vision at one point that said, "You must go to the Dagobah system." Something like that. You must go to Act 2. There you will wait.
Yeah, maybe.
And
that's pretty Star Warsy. That could be an entry point for Yoda, who reportedly is going to be in Episode 8, and this could be a spot for him to have told Luke, you're just going to have to go hang out there and wait.
yeah, and since you said that, you mentioned that apprentice Jedi temple unlocking deal a couple of weeks ago. I rewatched Luke's face when he sees Rey, and thinking along those lines, his expression adds up to an expression of like maybe this thing I've been trying to do is finally going to happen.
Yeah, when I see,
like, okay, now it's game on.
Yeah, when I see his
Yeah.
face, it's basically saying it has begun.
Yeah, it's exactly game on. Here we go. Like, the time for waiting is over. The preseason is over, and now it's time to get the season rolling. Yeah, I mean, if anybody dropped Luke off on Act 2, I mean, the low hanging fruit answer is Lor San Tekka, right?
Yeah,
I'd have to imagine,
pretty much.
because we don't know that Lor San Tekka actually knows where Luke is. We know that he has the map, but we don't know that Lor San Tekka has read the map. At this point, I don't think it matters. The guy's laying in a heap on Jakku. But I tend to believe that Luke can leave at any time, and just chooses not to because he knows that there's no point. He's encountered the evil that is Snoke, and he knows what it's done to Ben Solo, now Kylo Ren, and I think he's fully aware that there's no battling this. He can't. Not by himself, and not with the limited knowledge that he knows. But he knows that whatever's at the First Jedi Temple, that can help. And so he's going to sit there and wait until he can get his hands on that knowledge to help him grow as a Jedi. And then he can go and tackle the threat of the First Order.
Yeah, knowledge
And
is
that was
power.
sort of the gist of my blog post. It might be an inconsequential throwaway thought, but who knows? Maybe I just pulled at a thread here. And so with that, we can now take our second break and listen in on the guys from Gen X-Wing, the third arm of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. So take a couple minutes to hear their promo, and then we'll be back and we'll start winding the show down with some listener questions. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
There are a lot of great Star Wars podcasts out there, but we at the Generation X-Wing Podcast discuss things in a unique way. Generation X-Wing Podcast takes a look back at pop culture that defines our generation. From movies
They think he's a righteous dude.
to TV,
I ain't going to no airport, Hannibal.
from collecting,
I bet my Wookiee.
and of course we discuss our wonderful Star Wars universe.
Hello, what have we here?
Come over to the Generation X-Wing Podcast with your hosts, Anil Sharma,
That is gonna be a shame.
Josh Whittle,
It was like, that's what trailers should be.
and Rob Williams.
Nailed it.
It is a modern look at your retro lifestyle. Follow us on Twitter at Gen X-Wing, on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on our homepage at generationxwing.com.
And we're back one last time. We're going to start getting into our listener questions now. Don't forget to check out the Generation X-Wing podcast on iTunes. And like James said a couple weeks ago, if you lived for 1 minute in the 80s, this is a must show for you. If you're somebody who digs nostalgia, digs all those things you grew up on, this has got to be one of the best podcasts out there for that.
They really are hilarious, those guys too. The more I listen, the more they make me laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a terrific show. Check them out for sure. That's a good impersonation. All right, so we got a few listener questions last week after being blanked last week. So Rob over at Talk Star Wars throws us a softball, really a layup here to kick us off. So James, if you had a lightsaber, what color would your crystal be?
Green. And that goes back to not just being a huge Skywalker fan, but like ever since I was a little kid, given the choice of color of anything, green. Like I learned to like lime-flavored things, even though I didn't really like it, I don't think, because it was green. So it's an easy choice for me.
Interesting. So you would have you'd order key lime pie off the menu, but not really enjoy it.
Basically, yes. Green anything. Green slush, green lollipops, green popsicles, green hats, scarves, shirts, shoes, socks. Just I've always been that's always been my color. So anytime I was given the choice, I would always pick green.
Which shade of green is your favorite?
I really like them all, but like I like bright, bright green.
Your Irish bias is shining through.
I guess.
Corey, what about you? What color is your blade?
I went super cliche. What can I say? I'm not going to be ashamed of it, but Skywalker blue, the electric blue just reminds me of our old dad's Dodge Tradesman 500, the electric blue from the 70s. I love that color. It pops.
I mean, blue's my favorite color, so it was an easy one for me. It was actually, it was kind of tough between the green and the blue. Sorry, red. But yeah, no, I just, like I said, in a long time ago show, what's my favorite ship? Well, I'm a sucker for a classic, so I'm flying an X-Wing. I just dig the classics when it comes to Star Wars, and blue's where it's at for me. So, easy answer. But Rob has a meteor question, and it's to do with Thrawn and Rebels. So, how do you think the Rebels writers could reconcile my qualms with the introduction of Thrawn into the new canon? My big issue with it is that the Empire, during the Galactic Civil War, is provably xenophobic to non-human life. That's true. Thrawn is, as the information pertaining to him states, still a Chiss in the new canon. Do you think they'll reconcile it as, close enough, with regards to his appearance? Or do you think they'll use storyline to explain why the Empire is willing to look the other way in this instance? So Corey, I'll let you tee off on this one.
Yeah, I think they're going to address it somewhat, but at the same time, they're probably going to sweep it under the rug. It's going to be part of the whole character establishment thing. But right off the bat, Disney, they let loose 3 character descriptions last week for Ezra, Maul, and Thrawn. And there's a quote in Thrawn's that says specifically, "The only officer in the Imperial fleet of Chiss descent. Thrawn has earned his position through decisive victories where he used his brilliant mind to outmaneuver his enemies." So that being the case, I think he was just too damn good to be denied this position. He's just too much of an asset to them. Like, maybe they had him on an outer rim patrol for so long or whatever, but he just proved himself. But the main point is, when it comes down to the xenophobia thing, is the only officer in the Imperial fleet of Chiss descent, which kind of says that it's a rarity, it's uncommon, and yeah, I think we're in for a delight.
Well, you were lukewarm on this at the start, so it sounds like you're warming up to the idea of Thrawn.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's not like it's not the one that's really pushing my buttons per se, but I see where they're going with it, and I'm okay with it. It didn't bother me either way. Like, I've read Heir to the Empire. I think it's great, but retconning the character, I think it makes sense here. The only thing that kind of, again, bothered me a bit is that Tarkin, Vader, the Inquisitors, they've all tried to deal with these guys so far. And looks like this is going to be the guy to do it.
Yeah, so James, I mean, just to catch you up, I'm not sure what you know really about the character's history, but he's this blue-skinned, as you saw last week in that image, blue-skinned, red-eye genius, tactical, strategic genius.
No, I got it. I already got a take. He's he's Slim Shady. He's that good. He just, he doesn't fit the profile, but when you're that good, you get the job.
Yeah, I guess that's it. Like he's. I had in my notes here that they're gonna blend a couple of the reasons here that, yeah, he's close enough. He walks and talks and sounds just like a human. He's just blue skinned. So I suppose the Emperor or whoever's driving the xenophobia at the Imperial level will get over it because this guy delivers results. Like Corey said, he's just too good to have him sit on the sidelines. And these rebels, they're a growing threat. At first, they started out as a thorn in the side, and they had these idiot officers after them. And then they assigned inquisitors to the case, and everybody, one by one, failed. Callus has been always a step behind. Even Darth Vader really couldn't tear a strip off them. Although he did some damage to their fleet, but really, he hasn't really slowed them down at all.
And his character,
so now maybe
his character is going to be equally as important in the sense that I really do think that he's going to tear the Ghost crew apart. And the Ghost crew is really at the heart of the genesis of the rebellion. Like, they are the rebellion. They're the ones that kind of, in the early onset, they're really the ones that kind of bind everyone together in a sense, that give them that extra push that they need.
Well, they certainly helped.
No, not help.
Thrawn is going to be the undoing of at least part of the team, you would think.
No, I think he's going to get to them. I really think he's going to get to them. And
well, given the failure of all of the other villains that have tried to take on the rebels at this point, you would think that the Empire would have no choice but to embrace alternative ways of thinking. We see Thrawn standing there, dissecting his enemies through their artwork. That's not very Imperial. That's distinctly Thrawn.
No, he's going to let them undo themselves. Like, he's going to set them up so that they play against each other and just unravel.
Right. So again, that's not Imperial thinking, right? That's not standard operating procedure for a military. That's the unique leanings of one genius. So I think the Emperor or whoever puts Thrawn in charge there, maybe it's Tarkin, has just decided to, we suck. Let's see what this guy can do.
Well, and who knows? Maybe it's a case of also whoever's, like you said, whoever's driving the xenophobia, maybe willing to overlook it for now. And, who knows what the plans are for Thrawn down the road.
Yeah, again, it's another one of these characters that he's nowhere to be found in the original trilogy. Like, they've retconned him into before the timeline before the original trilogy, whereas before he showed up after in the expanded universe. So, where is he? Are you going to somehow sneak him into future revisions of the original trilogy? I doubt it. I think we're done with tinkering with the original trilogy. So is he going to be a short-lived villain? I think that would anger a lot of people.
I would think
something's got to happen to him.
I would think if he survives the aftermath of Return of the Jedi, that we would have heard about him in Bloodlines.
Well, why don't you read the book and then tell me what you think?
I'm getting there. Don't pressure me. I'm almost there. I had a few days.
You're almost ready to make that emotional leap into the book?
No, I've been reading this week. I've had some time off. I had a very, very difficult week. I've had some time to myself, and I read a few pages.
Oh, well, congratulations. You're on the road to a more expanded view.
Yeah, well, soon I'm going to
Star Wars universe.
Read my my messaging between ads and James. Soon I'm going to read the Similarian, and I'm going to be better than you.
Would you like to borrow my first printing of it?
That would be awesome, actually.
It's a beautiful copy. I've seen it.
It is really nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. That's our answer about Thrawn and Rob's question. Thanks, Rob. Much appreciated. And we'll move on to our good friend Ads, who's going to throw a question at us this week. And so I think I can't remember if Ads was actually into the Clone Wars at first, or if he's been binging it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So his question is, so far we've had the Clone Wars fill in some of the gaps between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. Now we have Rebels for the period pre A New Hope. Therefore, do you see Disney looking to tell the post-Jedi story leading up to The Force Awakens as their next animated project? James, what do you think? Do you think... I'll let you run with it. Where do you think Disney most wants to put their next animated feature?
I'm going to say that Ads is onto something just because that makes sense to me the way he laid it out. But I feel like I have very little footing when I speak out to this stuff because I have no idea what they've written about to this point. So I'm going to just talk for 10 seconds and then defer to you two experts. Corey, what do you think?
Well, presumably it would be the next logical step, I would think. There's some cool fodder there, you know, a young Ben Solo training with Luke, young Poe Dameron, maybe even some Finn stuff, maybe some Rey stuff. But I don't know if we really want to see that, so I kind of get, like, I have a bad feeling about this. Like, I really don't think they're going to go in that direction. Like, do we really want to see Luke in an animated series? Yeah, I think they're going to go somewhere different. We know we're not going to be going into the future. So, yeah, it's a very hard question. I don't know where they're going to go with it. I don't see them doing, again, between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope. There's still a lot of time to be covered there, but I think Rebels, that's that story. So who knows? Maybe we'll go back in the past. I think it's got to go that way. I don't think they'll do this. I don't think they'll do an in-between, but who knows? Maybe they will. There's a lot. It's 30 years, right?
Did you accidentally say I have a bad feeling about this?
Nope. I said it on purpose.
Well played then, sir.
Yeah, it just came to me, man.
I think Disney is dying to get into the Force Awakens period more. Dying. But you're right, Corey. I agree with you in that seeing Luke in his post Return of the Jedi life in an animated form feels I don't want to say cheap.
It would sentiment your your feelings from my last poll, having him being not retconned, but brought into Rebels in a sense.
Yeah, I just don't think animated is the right place for Luke. My feelings about him joining Rebels are well known, but I think it would certainly double that in the post Jedi era. Like I think animating Luke for that era kind of underserves the character. I don't know, maybe I'm sure my mind would change instantly if they made the announcement tomorrow that that's what they're doing. I'd say, cool, I'm in. You know, here's some concept art of what Luke will look like. I'll say, oh my god, it's so cool.
Yeah.
But again, it's 32 years or 30 years of continuity that can be filled in, and maybe they don't even touch the main characters. I mean, the Aftermath novels and Bloodline. There's a lot of novels that are filling in these gaps. And with regards to Luke, I feel like novels are where he will get most of his coverage. But I think there's some angle that they're looking to cover with an animated series that's set in the pre-The Force Awakens era. That's just my sentiment. I think that era has been so well received that they want to exploit it more. But first, I think Disney wants to squeeze as much cash out of the original trilogy era fans, the ones that have a few dollars left to give, that probably care a lot more about the stuff that we were brought up on. They want to squeeze us for all we're worth first before they move on to a potentially younger demographic. But the answer is for me is yes. Ads. I really think Disney is looking to tell part of the post-Jedi story from The Force Awakens with the next animated project. Maybe it's the early days of the Resistance and some of their adventures against splinter cells or small groups of the First Order. You know, I can quite easily imagine a slightly younger Poe Dameron in an animated series, you know, leading a squadron of X-Wings. I can totally see that. But who knows? Like you said, Corey, maybe they go back to the past. Maybe that's the direction. It sounds like we might get a taste of it in episode 8, and maybe that's what they're waiting for. Maybe they want to see how we fans respond to any type of flashback to ancient Jedi times, to see if it's worth them plumbing those depths.
And like you said earlier too, the head guy at ABC too says, there's ongoing conversations about what the next animated show will be. So then I'm sure they're pretty heated. Where are they going to take this thing? It's a big moneymaker for them, and they have to make the right decision. So,
and I'm sure the decisions are they take place on two fronts, where you have creative individuals who want to tell interesting stories, and you have bean counters who want to cash in on already popular characters and storylines that they know that will resonate with fans. I think that's when a conversation can get heated for sure. Okay, let's move on to Carlos, our good friend Carlos Candido, who we hear at the end of every show. He's got a question to do with the creation of the clone army. So he says, we learn in Attack of the Clones that Jedi Master Sifo Dyas lied to the Geonosians, I think he meant Kaminoans, to get them to create the army. It's also in canon that Palpatine discovered the plan and had Dooku kill Dyas about the time of the Battle of Naboo. The Geonosians state that the Kaminoans state that they were waiting / expecting the Jedi to inspect the clones since Sifo Dyas had left. So his question is, at what point does Palpatine insert the chip with Order 66 if Sifo Dyas was the last to visit Kamino? So let's start with that one. So I'll just start by saying that the whole issue of the creation of the clone army, I think, is one of the most convoluted and poorly fleshed out plot points in all of Star Wars. Like, it always baffles me, and I'm surprised I haven't tried to delve deeper into this previously to try and get clarity, because I don't know if I'm making too much of it.
No, keep that train of thought, Kyle. I just have to say quickly, I remember back when this movie was debuted, when Obi-Wan's finding out about this lost planet, and Yoda's finding out about this lost planet, that people are trying to hide something, and Obi-Wan finally goes there. Like, I was like, okay, I'm totally into this. Where's this going, And yeah, anyway. I thought that was super cool, but they lost me.
Yeah, I just found it so oddly executed. I just didn't understand anything of what was going on. Like, Sifo Dyas sounds a lot like Sidious, and that was by design. So anyway, at what point does Palpatine insert the chip with Order 66? So yes, Sidious and Dooku teamed up and had the Pike Syndicate shoot down Sifo Dyas. I believe that's the story anyway. Anyway, they had Sifo Dyas killed. And then they assumed control of the creation of the clone army. And another one of the problems I have with this is that here you have these Kaminoans who engage in a project to create and train millions of clones on the word of one Jedi Master who says, yeah, I'm here. Don't worry about it. Don't worry. I'm here on behalf of the Senate. Just build these. I'll make all these clones. Just to get this army rolling for us, will ya? We're good for the money. Don't worry about it. It's the Senate, right? And I guess the Kaminoans just want to get paid. Maybe that's their bag. But you would think they would seek out some further approval. Like, do you think you can get your boss to sign off on this? I.e., at the time, Chancellor Valorum. Like, maybe get him to sign off on this. Maybe we can have a conference call and get the details down. Instead, they just take his word for it and just march forward with this insane plan to create a massive galactic-sized army. I never quite got that. So anyway, they have Sifo Dyas killed, and the Kaminoans never care to say, "Dude, you want to come check out your clones? We're rolling along here. They're pretty sweet. Check it out." Instead, it's Dooku and Sidious pretending to be Sifo Dyas and issuing orders. I don't know if it's by email or whatnot. Just, yeah, no, we trust that you guys are doing a good job. Just keep on going. We'll see them when we're done. When they're done, like none of it really holds up to logic, right? So at some point, I don't know whether it's by Space FedEx, they provide the Kaminoans this chip with, I presume, is the code with Order 66 in it. It's so very loose and illogical to me.
Now you're right.
I don't know, Corey, do you have?
Yeah, maybe it's something they're gonna flush out. Nothing's ever explained, but I saw it exactly the same way you did. Like maybe they kill Sifo Dyas and then they're communicating through their hologram projections, hooded. Like yeah, like you said, continue. You're doing good. By the way, like install this failsafe just in case, kind of deal. But regards to the main thing in the question here is I think a Sith always has their own agenda, because he was beefing on the fact that there's more than two, like Dooku being in the equation and Maul. But no matter what, a Sith always has his own agenda. Like even Vader tells Luke at one point, and I'm sure he's serious. I'm sure he means it, saying, "Hey Luke, come with me. I'm your pappy. We're gonna kill the Emperor, and you and I we're gonna rule the galaxy as father and son." Like he's serious about saying that.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, it's not like the Emperor and Vader were ever best friends. And you're right. A Sith, regardless of their level, has their own agenda. So moving on to Carlos's next question is, it's basically, if Dooku is working with Palpatine while Maul is still alive, doesn't that work against the Sith code? Well, yeah, it does. He's got Maul as his apprentice, and he's got the ear of Dooku at the same time. So maybe they're not both officially apprentices, or maybe there's granularity to it, right? Like maybe Maul is, in Palpatine's mind, a very temporary weapon, although he picked him up from the time he was a boy. But maybe there was a very specific end game with Darth Maul, that he's going to be a weapon. I'm going to lose him, and then I'm going to move on to more substantial apprentices on my path to ruling the galaxy. I don't know.
You know what's odd to me about that, Kyle? In Twilight of the Apprentice, we see they find this temple, right? And it's a couple thousand years that no one's touched it, and there's lightsabers strewn everywhere. Now you'd have to think that there'd be more than two Sith fighting these guys. Like something about the way they're described is misunderstood. Like I always felt like it's a master-apprentice relationship. It's not necessarily that the whole Sith organization is only based on two people, or maybe they have like like there's a lord, a Sith Lord, and then a Master, a Sith Lord, and Inquisitor type people.
Well, no, you're right, because that battle predates. It was Darth Bane who institutes the rule of two, and that battle on Malachor predates that. So at least I think that's what it is. So those rules don't apply to that battle. So there could have been X number of Sith, any number of Sith, at that battle, and it wasn't until Darth Bane came around and created the rule of two, just because if there's too many of them, too many cooks, they all kind of cannibalize each other. So they close ranks and just have two at a time, which of course may or may not have been the case because they all have their own agendas. So yeah, it definitely does work against the quote-unquote code. But we know how Sith going to respond to their own rules, right?
Well, I'll definitely say that, Carlos, you definitely don't need to take any medication, because it is a very good question. And again, like, it was one of the major things in the movies that I caught right away. I said, wow, this is so cool. And then nothing. Like, we never found anything out about it.
No, you're right. So Carlos, like Corey said, I wouldn't reach for any meds, but I would look for the biggest grain of salt I can get my hand on and just get comfy with this thing being a little bit unwieldy as far as the logic and the canon of it all goes. Maybe it gets explained better down the line, or maybe I just need to do a little more research on the matter. But I feel like the handling of the clone army was not the most slick thing. James, was that something about Attack of the Clones that left you asking questions?
I wouldn't say it left me asking questions, but I wasn't ever fully satisfied with that whole sort of explanation or denouement of that part of the story. I don't know. I found it
exactly.
Lazy storytelling.
That's perfectly said. That's perfectly said, because exactly, like I left the Attack of the Clones going, wait, none of that makes sense. And then, of course, they took a stab at explaining it in season 6 of the Clone Wars. I think in the episode called Sacrifice, where they had it was Palpatine sort of conjuring an image of Jedi Master Sifo Dyas, and you get bits and pieces of that whole backstory in that episode. And I think that was Dave Filoni trying to clarify that whole thing for us. But man, oh man, it was not smooth at the cinematic level, that's for sure. And it's one of those things. It's one of the main reasons why Attack of the Clones is dead last for me in terms of my favorite Star Wars movies. It just didn't satisfy me. It's a perfect word. It didn't satisfy me how that whole thing happened.
No.
So rest easy, Carlos. Or at least don't let this keep you up at night. Maybe there's other things keeping you awake at night. And thank you for the question, my friend. If you have any more of these things that you want us to kick around for you, by all means, you know where to reach us. And we move on to our last question of the night from the Kingpin himself. It's the man, the myth, the legend. It's Mark at Talk Star Wars, and he wrote up a cool little piece, a cool theory about Sabine and Satine and Obi-Wan. We remember these people. And so his question is, could Sabine Wren be the daughter of Satine Kryze and Obi-Wan Kenobi? And will she be revealed as Rey's mom later? So, who wants to take this one? Corey, since you know a little bit more about Satine and Obi-Wan and their relationship, why don't you give my throat a break here and take over for a second?
Well, I think we kind of somewhat touched upon it the last pod we did, but I'm telling you, me and Mark were always on the same page. Every time Mark puts something out there, I'm like, wow, that's a mind blower, or I had already thought what he had been thinking, you know? And literally, I swear to God, Mark, like, no word of a lie, I had sent this, just a text to James and Kyle this week saying the exact same thing. I said, hey boys, what about this? You know,
it's true, exactly the same thing.
But I put a little salt and pepper on it, in the sense that, you know, Rebels has been developing not so much this season. Like this season, I think the characters kind of took on their own. They all had to get a little more established, but it's quite evident in the first season that Ezra is quite enamored with Sabine, almost like, and physically too. Like, Ezra looks like Mowgli. There's even an episode where it's true. Well,
I know he does, but what does Mowgli have to do with this?
Just the fact that what draws him out of the jungle is a little girl. Like, in one episode, Sabine says to him, she says, "Oh, you smell this and that," and he's like enthralled in the sense that she knows how he smells. So basically, there's been a romance thing between them two. If Rey was Sabine's daughter, I would think Ezra's the father. And if you want to tie that into the saga, I know this is really controversial, but, you know, let's bring Benicio as Ezra in that sense. It would be pretty cool when you look at it like that. But I was banging on that drum, you know, Satine, Sabine, there's something to be had there. Obi-Wan too. Sabine, you know.
Well, What if I told you that Dave Filoni said don't make anything of the fact that Sabine and Satine, their names sound alike? I mean, you can always say, yeah, he's misdirecting and telling us not to pay too much attention to that.
Yeah, he's taking a page from JJ's playbook, the Hamill playbook, the Silver Lining.
Sort of related, but could there be any relevance to the fact that her last name is Wren?
I said the same thing, but it's a W. There's a W.
I know the spelling's not the same, but just phonetically.
Yes.
Well, names change, right? As you know, I'm sure any of our family names, if you go back far enough back, at some point was spelled a little bit differently. So names do morph and evolve. So it could be possible, right? I mean, the Knights of Ren, they are a breed of warrior. And what are the Mandalorians? They're all a breed of warrior,
masked warriors.
Maybe then so maybe the Knights of Ren are the next evolution in the House of Ren people. It's a valid thought.
Yeah, it'd be like Ezra's the prince or the king, Sabine would be the queen, and whoever Snoke is. But like that, they have their House of Ren kind of.
So anyway, so Dave Filoni has said in an interview that Sabine's mom was present when Pre Vizsla was killed. So Pre Vizsla was the leader of was it Death Watch? Is that who they were? That group of Mandalorians?
No, I think it was.
This is a little. It gets a little convoluted there too. Pre Vizsla was the leader of Death Watch, and he's the guy that Darth Maul killed, beheaded him. And so, according to Filoni, that Sabine's mom was likely in that room when that happened. And so there's one other woman in the room that we know of, and that's Bo-Katan.
Yeah.
Who's being reintroduced in Rebels in season 3. So you could draw a very easy straight line between Sabine and Bo-Katan being related to one another. But and I think I talked about that last week, and I was like, oh yeah, that's got to be it. But I acknowledge that that's also very easy.
Well, there's something going on there, regardless, mom or aunt. There's something to be had there.
Just from the same clan, right? That's enough right there on its own. But I stumbled across another blog. It's houndstoothblog.wordpress.com, and he has an amazing piece on that. And so in the Son of Dathomir book, which I have not read, and which is canon, there is a Mandalorian supporter who is very loyal to Maul. And although it doesn't really specify that this character was in the room when Pre Vizsla was killed by Darth Maul, it wouldn't be a stretch to do so, given this woman's loyalty to Maul. And her name is Rook Kast. And if you look at a picture of her, she looks like Sabine. It's the same hair, just minus the color. It's the same face, just nastier. With sort of the kind of like what you'd expect a warrior's face to look like. It's just it's a very harsh face. And so this guy who writes the blog, and I can't find the author name. Shame on me. But anyway, it's houndstoothblog.wordpress.com, and just dig around there for the Who is Sabine's Mother post. It's brilliant. It's a brilliant take on it. And I gotta say, if I'm not, it's a pretty convincing argument that this Rook Kast character is actually Sabine's mom. And I'm actually really intrigued to see how they're going to handle that now. It's suddenly like shot right to the top of the list of things I want to see played out in Rebels Season 3.
Yeah, she's definitely,
and especially
in the trailer, you can see that her character is going to be pretty significant this season.
Yeah, and especially when you mix in the Darksaber into the picture. Because when we leave it in Clone Wars, Darth Maul has it. When we pick up his trail again in Rebels on Malachor, it's gone. He doesn't have it. And then you fast forward a little further to the trailer for season 3, we see Sabine have it. So somebody had it all this time, and Sabine got her hands on it somehow. And so all this points to some kind of coming to a head of Sabine, maybe against her mom. Wouldn't that be something? We've seen father-son battles. We've never seen mother-daughter battles. I think that's a cool mirror image that we've not seen yet. That would be awesome.
And we know Fen Rao is also on her side now too.
Yeah, I mean, all these characters coming back from the past and their allegiances coming to the fore. Like Maul will actually have sympathizers or allies here. Can you imagine if Sabine's mom is actually still loyal to Darth Maul? Or Maul, I should say. Never mind the Darth part.
Her eyes are yellow, which is kind of odd.
Whose eyes?
You were saying, I'm thinking Bo-Katan's eyes are yellow.
Well, they're like a light brown.
Like the iris, though. The take a look, you'll see.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But anyway, I think Mark's idea still holds up a little bit. Well, I mean, neither actually have come to pass yet that we know of. So until it's actually played out, I'm open to either.
But I think you were saying last week that the timeline wouldn't work in that regard. That Rey would be too old. Because Satine dies, and then the time that passes in between, it'd be close. It'd be very close.
Like in Mark's piece, he has it as, you know, Sabine would basically be about a year old when Satine dies, and then someone else takes care of her. So, I mean, in a very real sense, she would have a biological, i.e. Satine, and a adoptive mother who is yet to be determined. And so, moving on to the second part of Mark's theory is that could Ezra and Sabine have gotten together to create Rey? That's bold. That is really bold. I mean, the math lines up, right? I mean,
yeah,
if
it does.
If Sabine and Ezra decide to run off together, screw the rebellion, we're out of here, and out comes Rey. Out comes Rey. The math lines up. You know, they're the right age to have done that. But is that a... Well, let's ask James, because he's not invested in these characters yet. So Rey's parents are 2 teenagers from Star Wars Rebels. Are you buying, or are you rolling your eyes in your head?
Like 18 and 17.
I'm down. I think in the long run we're gonna have to accept that all of these storylines are gonna meet up, or a lot of these storylines, not all, but many are gonna be played out over different platforms, and we're just gonna have to get used to the idea that just because something starts in the animated series doesn't mean we shouldn't expect to someday see it on, you know, the big screen, Saga or other. So I'm okay with it, totally okay with it, and especially sounds like these are pretty cool characters. So, I'd be down for that storyline.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to see before I rubber stamped it for myself. I think I'd like to see, because I mean, at this point, right now, I don't know if I buy it. But it seems like where they might go with both Ezra and Sabine this season, maturing them both and getting them both implicated into some seriously meaty stories, I think it becomes an easier link to make. Like 6 months from now, I think we'll have a much stronger idea if that would even be possible. But thanks, Mark. I always love Mark's theories. They're always well explained.
That guy's on point.
Informed speculation. That's what I like. And Mark is really good at that. And boys, I don't know if there's anything else that you want to get off your chest, but we're about ready to wrap up.
I'm done.
It's a wrap.
As they say over at Talk Star Wars, it's a wrap. And anything else, guys, before we really put a pin in this?
I'm good,
No,
man.
I'm good. That was a good one, though. Lots and lots of news considering we're still 88 days away.
Lots and lots of news, that's for sure, and more to come.
Yeah, more polls to come.
As of next week, we'll be into full review mode for Rebels season 3. We'll be talking about that. James, we got to figure something out, man. We got to get you some episodes of Rebels.
I know. I've been actually actively searching now, and I will get my hands on them before it's too late. Also, I just wanted to shout out some names: Sam and Jared, who both are friends of mine who listen to the show. I said I would say their names at some point on the air, so you can cut it if you want to, but now I did.
Hey, Sam and Jared.
Yeah.
Never said it twice. Okay, that's it, guys. We are done. Corey, where can we find you on the Twitter machine?
At Chop Rules with a Z.
And James, where are you?
Tommy Bombadil 1.
Excellent. I am at Tumbling Saber. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We are all over the place, and you can find us at the blog at tumblingsaber.com. Sign up for the newsletter if you so desire. And if we can ask you for anything, just 5 minutes of your time is to head over to iTunes, search for us on iTunes, and just leave us a review. Do it! And help us grow the show that way. Just do it! Beyond that, if you're looking for more podcasts to add to your life, if radio's not doing it for you anymore, as it stopped doing for me, check out the Star Wars Commonwealth on iTunes, and subscribe to Talk Star Wars, subscribe to Gen X-Wing. Great shows run by a bunch of great guys. So, like I said, just check them out and thank us later. That's it for this week. So thanks once again for listening. We appreciate you all so much. Until next week, have yourselves a good one, and we'll catch you again on episode 43 of the Tumbling Saber podcast. Cheers and bye for now.
Self-redeeming qualities, have they hindered me? Hindering, was I blind to see? Blind to see that you needed me, all of me. Well, you were there for me. I will be there too, watching, listening. Every moment wanting all of you, and I believe I can save you, just don't let me go. And I can see I'll be waiting, always waiting, just don't let me go. Just don't let me go. Time goes on and I'm questioning all the things I've seen, crazy things I've seen as I'm watching you. I'm watching you walking away from me. Were you watching me? Was it just a dream? Just a dream. And I believe I can save you, just don't let me go. And I can see I'll be waiting, always waiting. And I I'm waiting.